I have Pastor Simbo, the senior pastor of Christ International Community Church, back to pray with us. Pastor, welcome back to council.
Good evening, Council President Harding and all members of the City Council. I bring greetings and good wishes from Christ International Community Church. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Thank you, God, for being a God who is always generous and loving. Thank you for blessing our city, Columbus, in ways we cannot even imagine. Thank you for your grace that has continued to keep our city, county, state, and country. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to gather here today in the service of this community. We covet your guidance and wisdom in the deliberations today. We also pray for open hearts and minds to listen and consider different perspectives and ideas. We ask, gracious Lord, for your help in making decisions that are just, compassionate, and in the best interest of all citizens of our city. May your spirit of unity and understanding be with all members of the City Council as they work together to serve the needs of this community. Grant them, O Lord, the clarity to discern what is right and just and the courage to act upon it. And as they gather here today, may they be mindful of the important decisions that are entrusted to them and to make on behalf of our community. You are a God of order and not of confusion. And so we ask that you help all members to approach today's meeting with a spirit of peace and harmony. Bless each member with peace of mind and heart that is necessary to make enduring decisions. May they always trust in your plans and have faith that you are working all things together for the good of our city. Finally, Lord, we pray that your presence will be felt in this room and that your love will unite every council member in furtherance of your will for our city. May your blessing be upon this meeting and on all those who are participating in it. In Jesus' blessed name, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorrance, Green, Remy White, President Harden. Any person who takes any action to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorrance, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communications received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I request the following ordinance to be removed from the consent action portion of the agenda. Resolution 0158X-2025. Are there any other requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution? Hearing none, we'll now go around the dais to council members for updates and resolutions, starting with Councilmember Bankston. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. I have one announcement and one resolution this evening. First, earlier this month, we hosted two events called Up Next with Lourdes in District 8, where we invited the east side and the south side of the district to come in. We were able to facilitate discussions about key topics regarding what's up next in various city departments. And hear directly from constituents, I want to thank all of our partners, Rec and Parks, the Department of Public Service, Neighborhoods, Safety, CO AAA, and this is what happens when you start naming people off the cuff. You forget someone, but blame it on my heart and not, on my head and not my heart. Thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you to all of the residents who joined us. There's lots of follow-up work, but we are going to make it an annual event to hear from folks in the district district about what is coming up next. So very excited about that. I also want to give a shout out to our community engagement team. We could not have pulled off those events without you. So thank you to the whole team for all your work every day, but especially on those 2 days. So next I have a special resolution, Resolution 0148X 2025, to recognize June as Caribbean American Heritage Month. In June of 2006, the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously decided to recognize the significance of Caribbean people and their descendants in the history and culture of the United States, creating Caribbean Heritage Month. Through doing so, we recognize the rich, diverse culture of the United States and the contributions that Caribbean people have made in developing our nation. This year marks the 17th celebration of June as National Caribbean Heritage Month. There are 7,000 islands. I should have done a show and tell for this one. There are 7,000 islands that make up the Caribbean, and only 33 have ties to political entities. The U.S. has 7 territories in the region, and the people of the Caribbean are a mix of indigenous, African, Asian, and European folks. The legacy of Caribbean Americans is one of tenacity and drive. It is a reminder to us that our diversity of experience and culture can unite us as a people, and that in America, with faith and determination, anything is possible. This month, let us honor the resilient heritage and rich history of Caribbean Americans like Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury, Colin Powell, the first person of color appointed as the Secretary of State, James Weldon Johnson, the writer of the Black National Anthem, Celia Cruz, the world-renowned Queen of Salsa, Shirley Chisholm, the first Black Congresswoman and first Black female candidate for president, and Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the first Latina Supreme Court Justice. Today, we are proud to honor organizations in our community, one in particular. We're proud to present this resolution to Dominicans in Columbus, Ohio. And as I'm talking, if Zara, you want to start making your way up to the podium. Dominicans in Columbus, Ohio, or DICO, is the first organization created to improve the lives of Dominican Americans residing in Columbus. Since their establishment, DICO has connected nearly 10,000 Dominicans or people of Dominican descent, providing community support and awareness of Dominican culture. DICO plays a vital role within the landscape of Columbus, carrying out Caribbean heritage proudly. We're grateful for the work you do and excited to see what is in store as you continue to contribute to the Columbus community. And now it is now my honor to hand over the podium to mi hermana, my friend, my fellow Caribeña, Zari Carmona, founder and executive director of DICO, to speak on this resolution. The floor is yours.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much, Lourdes. Again, my name is Zari Carmona Tunger, and I am a proud Ohioan for the past 22 years. I've lived here, and about 6 years ago, a group of Dominicans, including myself, decided that we needed a voice within the city, and we were not seeing a lot of Dominican activity, knowing that our culture is so rich and we have so many members over here. Our community runs about 6,000 Dominicans in Central Ohio, so we want to make sure that we put a face to that. So we established the organization, we registered ourselves, and we've been having a great time doing so. I'm pretty sure some of you have seen some of the work that we've done in the community. We are excited to do more. We feel like babies still compared to so many other wonderful organizations that are here representing their countries, but we are here to do the work. We're passionate about it, and we want to find ways and partnerships to uplift the community and find resources to work together. So thank you so much. Thank you, Lourdes, for always bringing us to the table, for always putting a space here for us. We're very thankful. Thank you, council members, to all of you for allowing this moment. We're very proud to be here. Thank you.
And I just want to say, Zari was also one of our madrinas, one of the grand marshals of the Latino Heritage Month Parade last year. And DICO does amazing work, not only to uphold heritage, Dominican heritage, but also bring others in, ensure that they have the resources that they need by bringing in the consulate, doing other work, and then also bringing in the greater community and celebrating everything that it means to be Dominican. I'm showing so much Dominican love today, I must say. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Great, and with that, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
Great, thank you. And to all my fellow Caribeños, felicidades, mi gente. But thank you so much. That's all for me, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Beatty.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, for Council President. I have one resolution that was removed from the consent agenda, number 0158-2025, that I would like to move to refer to committee, please.
Is there a second? Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Refer to committee.
Next, I have Resolution 0162-2025 that replaces 0158-2025, and it is to honor and commemorate the renaming of the Thornwood Commons to Tompkins Village in honor of Charles A. Tompkins Sr. This resolution will be presented this Wednesday, June 25th, at 11 o'clock at the Thornwood Commons, and the event will be attended by both Council President Harden and Council Pro Tem Dorans. A special dedication ceremony to celebrate his nearly 50 years of exemplary leadership and service to the Milo Grogan community and the city of Columbus. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Weiss, President Harden.
Adopted.
And that is all I have for this evening. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Beatty. Councilmember de Akauer.
Thank you, Council President. I have one announcement this evening. On Tuesday, July 1st at 7:30 p.m., my office will be hosting a Somalia Independence Day illumination ceremony here at City Hall. As home to the second largest Somali diaspora in the country, this day is a meaningful celebration for so many in our community. And we're excited to be joined by State Representatives Munira Abdullahi and Ismail Mohammed. And we hope that you all can come and celebrate this important day with us. And that's all for me, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Press Pro Tem. Councilmember Green. Councilmember Remy. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Council President. Just real quick, I know we can all feel the heat outside right now and in here. The heat is not going to subside anytime soon. As of this morning, the National Weather Service has extended the heat advisory for our region to Wednesday at 8 p.m. I just want to take a moment to tell the community about support that is available to them during this intense heat. One, for our seniors. If you're a senior in need of a fan, you can reach out to Life Care Alliance at 614-437-2870. In addition, for those hearing this, they are also accepting donations of new box fans to kind of support this effort. So you can drop that off at their Harmon Avenue location, 670 Harmon Ave. If you need somewhere cool to hang out, you can visit one of the 23 library locations around the city. They are free, they are cool, they also have the internet. Visit columbuslibrary.org to see those locations. In addition, the Community Development for All People will be extending their hours until 10 p.m. for anyone who needs a place to stay cool after other options have closed. Starting tomorrow, through the Department of Rec and Parks will open the Dodge, Driving Park, Glenwood, Linden, Marion Franklin community centers as cooling centers until 9 p.m. They're also waiving all outdoor pool admission fees from 1 to 8 p.m. The Barnett, Blackburn, Linden, and Scioto Southland spray grounds are also open from 12 to 8 p.m. All spray grounds continue to be free. This heat is uniquely dangerous because of the high humidity, so the nighttime will not bring the cooling effect we normally see after sunset. So please remember to check on your neighbors and loved ones, drink lots of water to stay hydrated, and please avoid leaving your pets outside. So just want to take a moment just to make sure folks are aware of these resources that are out there and really kind of encourage folks to really take this serious. It does not take a lot of time outside in this heat to feel like you are not right and need to get inside to lay down. So this is serious. We should continue to expect this type of heat in our region just due to words I cannot say because of other people, but we should expect this and we need to be prepared to address it going forward. So that's it for me, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember, and thank you for your leadership. I think since you got here on council, you really had the city focus on extreme weather and extreme weather mitigation. I was really grateful to see the city come together as a unit last week to talk about preparedness for this week. As the council member stated, this is a serious and dangerous experience that we're going through for the next several days. So we hope that everyone takes heed, that you take advantage of the opportunities that the city has provided and the amazing partnerships that are happening throughout Columbus with nonprofit and private sector partners to keep us all safe. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who played a part in our heat mitigation plan. When the auditor came in, I asked her how her Pride was, and she reminded me, it's still Pride. And so as part of that, we're really excited to take a moment to honor and really put focus on an organization that has been around for 25 years, the Legacy Fund. And as I read about the Legacy Fund, I would invite folks who came for the reception, some of our members, but founding members, but all those who came out tonight to celebrate the Legacy Fund to come forward. I think that Karen and Scott are going to represent the Legacy Fund, but I would invite you guys to come forward. When did we become a shy community? I'm like, never. There we go, Miss Karen. So tonight I'm presenting a resolution to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Legacy Fund. Established on December 12, 2000, the Legacy Fund began at the Columbus Foundation, born out of years of thoughtful planning and collaboration. We know that the Columbus Foundation, with over 70 years of service, stands as the 8th largest community foundation in the nation. It serves as the trusted philanthropic advisor to more than 2,500 donors, helping to support charitable giving across our region. The Legacy Fund's early success was made possible through the generous startup contributions from the OK Foundation and Greer Foundation. And these contributions exemplify the spirit of generosity and community investment that laid a strong foundation for the fund's enduring impact. Moreover, the passionate involvement of many dedicated leaders from the LGBT plus community as principals, advisors, interim board members, ex officio members, and initial donors was essential to transforming the vision into a reality. The commitment ensured the fund's lasting success and growth. Over the past 25 years, the Legacy Fund has become a powerful catalyst for effective philanthropy, championing causes that promote equity, inclusion, and opportunity. Their work enriches lives and strengthens the fabric of not only the Columbus community, but also communities beyond our city. So City Council honors the Legacy Fund's lasting impact and expresses our sincere appreciation to all who have contributed to its mission over the years. So it's with great pride that we commend the founders and supporters of the Legacy Fund, and we encourage continued commitment to this vital work. This is so important this year, and we said this when we celebrated Pride, that some prides are more important than others. In this environment, in this year, in this time, it is extremely important that we highlight the work of folks who were thoughtful about generations coming behind them, that were the folks who fought for rights that are truthfully being rolled back now, that stood up, that made space for me to sit here and on this dais. And so on behalf of I said this in the reception, on behalf of a grateful council, on behalf of a grateful community, but on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community that you all have supported, that you have fought for, we just say thank you and congratulations on 25 years. And we're really excited about what comes next. Are there any comments from my colleagues before I turn it over to Ms. Karen?
First of all, happy Pride. I also just want to say, one thing that struck me, we had a reception beforehand, and we talked about generations and how we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? There are generations that fought for things. There are generations that got to sit in the progress of what the generation before them had done. And now we're at at a precipice again, where we're finding that many communities are having to fight for their existence, are having to go back to, we're having a renaissance of the worst kind, some might say. So as I look across this room of the folks who are making up this legacy fund, from folks from different walks of life, folks who are coming together to say that they are here, that it doesn't matter what words someone somewhere tells us, whoever, we all have a right to be here. And that there are times when we not only need to fight with our bodies and our voices, but also with our pocketbooks, right? And when we make that kind of investment, it really is a lasting investment. So I just want to say thank you. And I feel like this is a time where I also want to say for the folks who have been there before that it is almost time to rest, even when you can't. But how do the rest of us pick up the fight from where folks before us left off, so that we can continue to forge ahead, so that people can find safety and security and see themselves in a community that has always been theirs. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you, and thank you for all the work that this fund is going to do. And I know you have exciting things coming up that will help to inform generations, and that one day, you know, our kids can look back and they too can rest.
Thank you, Councilmember. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Karen. Would you say who's here? I think we have some founding members, too, of the...
You know, I'm going to let everybody call off their own name,
There
and
you
they
go.
can, because they all know that I'm bad at this. But I think, as a prelude, I think what's really important is that with the Columbus Foundation and the Legacy Fund, we have been able to touch people and unite people that hasn't happened before. And we're very blessed to be in Columbus, Ohio, where we've had a council and we've had politicians and we've had the community support what we're doing and trying to unite. So the best opportunity the Legacy Fund has is to continue to raise money to be in a position that we continue to recognize all of our different communities. And hopefully our jobs will go away because we'll never have to fight again, that we'll reach a point that this blend and this mesh is continued forever. And the Legacy Fund's goal is to be here forever.
That's it.
So I'm going to go down the line, and Kay?
I'm Kay Terry Smith.
I'm Bill Ruffner.
Jen House.
Molly O'Shaughnessy.
Denzel Porteous.
Scott Owens.
Hey, Jen?
Steve Snyder Hill. Greg Cole. Spencer Gary.
Jennifer Riddell. Shelby Dawkins.
Lana Moore. Greg Dodd. Steve Neal.
Cool group, right? And there's 5 times as many of those folks behind our scenes. So we are very proud, and thank you very much for recognizing our place and our position. And I hope 25 years from now, you'll be celebrating our 50 years with us.
Well, somebody will be. I don't know. Well, again, Auditor Kilgore, I didn't ask. Do you have any comments?
Just immense appreciation, because in addition to the work of Legacy Fund and you each giving of your time to this incredible, or having given your time to this incredible organization, you are all representing incredible organizations in this community, your small business owners, your leaders, your activists, and to your excellent point, Council Member, you are all leading by example right now. And thank you. We need you now more than ever. But I do think this was one of my favorite Pride months in some time. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I move for adoption. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Are there any other comments from our elected officials? May we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of 38 legislation by the clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read the record ordinance numbers of 38 legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
In Finance and Governance, we have ordinance 1480, 1484, 1506, 1508, 1513, 1518, 1557, and 1654-2025. In Economic Development and Smaller Minority Business Committee, we have ordinance 1083, 1592, and 1608-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, we have Resolution 147X-2025, ordinances 1512, 1581, 1616, 1628-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, we have ordinance 1280-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, we have ordinance 1168-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, we have ordinance 70, 373, 1181, 1229, 1353, 1363, 1396, 1424, 1430, 1432, 1447, 1450, 1474, 1482, 1507, 1534-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, we have ordinances 1554, 1556, 1590, 1591, 1629, 1652, and 1702-2025. Rules and Policy Committee, we have ordinance 1687 and 1613, 1682-2025. Zoning Committee, we have rezonings number 1393, 1601, 1649, 1616, and 1712-2025. Variances, we have ordinances 1394, 1461, 1602, 1650, and 1708-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have several speakers on the first reading portion of the agenda. The first speaker to come forward is Kathy Essen, speaking on ordinance 1613. Is Kathy here? Let the record reflect. The next person to speak before council is Laura Fay. Laura, welcome to council. Laura is also speaking on ordinance 1613. Welcome to council. If this is your first time, just state your name if you represent any organization, and you have about 3 minutes.
My name is Laura Fay. I represent the Friends of the Lower Olentangy Watershed, and we're 28 years old, so we've been around Columbus for a long time. And I wanted to say that maybe some of you have a lot bigger fish to fry and don't think this pollinator code is as important as other things, but from Flo's perspective, this is very important. Pollinator gardens are a low-cost, best management practice for watersheds. We have 38% turf grass in our watersheds. Turf grass has very shallow roots. It doesn't help infiltrate the water, getting it down to our groundwater so it can move and get clean and move to our rivers. So we really need these native plants that have roots maybe 12 to 16 or 18 feet deep. And then every year, a portion of those roots die, creating tunnels to help filter that water down even a little bit faster. So we think that this is a great best management practice. We don't like the fact that some of our residents have been threatened with $1,500 fines and jail time. And we also think that this is especially important for new areas in Columbus that don't have very big yards, not even big enough for a tree. So if they can't have a tree to help with evapotranspiration and shade, they could at least have this pollinator garden, and that will also help take some of this darn humidity out of the air. So, and then the other benefit of pollinator gardens is stormwater, right? It's intercepting water, less will run off. So turf grass is partially impervious. So, and then finally, it helps support our wildlife food web, and not just the monarchs, but others as well. So thank you, President Harden. Thank you, Councilman Weish and Chelsea. We think this is very important and glad to have you working on it, especially during Pollinator Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker to come before council is Dr. Greg Toothman. Welcome to council.
I have never done this before, so I'm grateful to be here this evening. City Council members and staff, good afternoon. I'm Craig Toothman, a Columbus resident, the Xerces Society Ambassador for Central Ohio, a member of the Columbus Green Spot Program Advisory Board, and the founder and current president of a brand new conservation group here locally, Franklin County Pollinator Pathway. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to speak to you about naturalized pollinator gardening practices and related noxious weed management. Naturalized landscapes represent a new style of intentional property landscaping. And I'd like to stress that word intentional. These are things that are done on purpose. These are not areas that are associated with neglect or mismanagement or whatever other negative things are associated with noxious weeds. These areas typically involve the use of native plants as opposed to more traditional non-native ornamentals, and often replace areas of property previously committed to our non-native turf grass lawn. As Ms. Fay just noted, 38% of Franklin County is turf grass. It is a non-native plant, very shallow root system, partially impervious. It deals with stormwater, water quality issues. It's really a food desert for wildlife. Native plants have significant advantages over these non-native counterparts, not only in the provision of critically needed habitat for our native pollinators and other wildlife, but also in attributes such as drought tolerance, reduced summer watering needs, reduced surface stormwater runoff problems, and drinking water quality challenges. They also allow for profound reductions in the amounts of chemical inputs that are necessary for the success of non-native ornamental plants and turf grass in our region. Naturalized landscaping practices thus afford us the opportunity to begin to address some of these important ecological challenges. One of the issues that may be associated with this intentional style of landscaping is that these areas can look quite differently from what we have all come to associate with a well-managed, well-cared-for property. Concerns and complaints regarding this newer landscape style are therefore based primarily upon how these landscapes look, not what they actually are. We recognize and appreciate the needs of the city to be able to respond promptly, effectively, and consistently to any citizen complaints. We feel that the proposal language provides both appropriate guidelines for citizens and the flexibility and ease of interpretation required by our zoning enforcement personnel. We believe that these code changes will help to support the Columbus Climate Action Plan, the Urban Forestry Master Plan, and other important initiatives throughout the city, and reduce the incidence of resident complaints associated with the current noxious weed standard. This ordinance proposal can also serve to establish the future of habitat improvements on the many acres of property owned and managed directly by the city itself. I'm pleased to say that the Board of Directors of Franklin County Pollinator Pathway have reviewed this ordinance proposal and find it to be a very positive improvement over the existing code standard. In closing, I would like to express our deep appreciation to Councilmember Christopher Weish and his staff, and also to Deputy Director Tony Celebrezzi and his staff for taking the time to explore this important conservation issue and to position the City of Columbus in a leadership role for our neighboring municipalities here in Central Ohio. As a private citizen myself of Columbus, and on behalf of Franklin County Pollinator Pathway, I thank you for your consideration of this important ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know, Councilmember Weiss is the sponsor of this legislation. Do you want to say anything now, or are we going to wait till next week when we take it up?
I'll just quickly say thank you. Appreciate you all being here. I do want to acknowledge Tony and the entire BZS team. They really did the yeoman's work of putting this together, so we're excited. I did hear your note about city facilities and what we can do there. That is an ongoing conversation that we're having with the administration, but hopefully next week we're able to share more.
Thank you.
We can always do more in the future.
Yes.
Thank you all.
The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of expression, we have 151X, 158X, 155X I'm sorry, go back, 151X, 155X-2025. In Finance and Governance Committee, we have ordinances 1024, 1258, 1270, 1420, 1478, 1520, 1521, 1522, 1531, 1536, 1597, 1604, 1605, 1607, and 1661-2025. In Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, we have Resolution 153X-2025, ordinances 1532, 1533, 1603, and 1749-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 1483, 1517, 1551, 1588, 1653-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation, and Parks Committee, we have ordinances 1224, 1274, 1278, 1562, and 1612-2025. Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, we have ordinance 1676-2025. Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, we have ordinances 1410, 1439, 1452, 1558, 1561, 1582, 1593, 1606, and 1618-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinance 845, 1176, 1510, and 1511-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 1372, 1438, 1564, 1620, and 1644-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 1446, 1569, and 1657-2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We don't have any speakers on the consent portion of the agenda. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I may I have a motion for approval of these items. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Consent agenda is passed. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance and Governance Committee, chaired by Councilmember Bangston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in Finance and Governance Committee for second reading, we have Resolution 0109X-2025 to adopt the 2026 tax budget and to authorize and direct the city auditor to submit said budget to the county and to declare an emergency. The tax county budget is a state mandated process that we and our city auditor follow to receive our city's portion of local government funds. State code requires that the tax budget resolution appear on 2 council agendas and that we hold a hearing to discuss. As we've done in previous years, because this is pretty routine, I will postpone this resolution to the June 30th council meeting, where we will conduct a public hearing within that council meeting prior to the vote for passage. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move to postpone Resolution 0109X-2025 to the June 30th council meeting.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Postpone.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have one ordinance today in Public Service and Transportation, Ordinance 1398, 2025, to appropriate funds within the PWC Grants and Loans Fund and the Federal Transportation Grants Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Complete General Construction Company for the Signals Downtown Signals Part 2 project to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,031,498.26 from the OPWC Grants and Loans Fund, Federal Transportation Grants Fund, and the Street Construction Maintenance and Repair Fund for the project, to repay any unused grant funds at the end of the grant period and to declare an emergency. This contract includes the replacement of existing traffic signals, including new poles and equipment at the intersections of, get out your pens and pencils, friends, Rich Street at 3rd, 4th, 5th, and Grant Avenue. New fiber optic cables will be installed within the limits of each intersection to connect the signals to the existing Columbus traffic signal system network. Additional work includes the brick wall, drainage structure replacement, new signage, and pavement markings, and other work as may be necessary. There will be minimal to moderate impact that folks can be on the lookout for. The estimated notice to proceed, you also want to get your pencils out for this one, July 18th, 2025. So there will be some disruptions along the Rich Street corridor, just so folks can take that into account, especially now that it's festival season. There's a lot of folks that might be coming downtown that aren't usually downtown, but for folks who work downtown, just take that into consideration as you're moving around the city. Director, do we have an idea of how long the project might last?
Good evening, President Harden, Chair Barossa de Padilla, members of council. It would likely be, it'll be done by the end of next year.
Great. So it'll be moving, correct? So it'll go from one street to the next to the next. So just for folks to take that into consideration, do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barossa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Neighborhood Recreation and Parks Committee, chaired by Councilmember Deacker. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. We have 3 ordinances in our committee this evening. First is Ordinance 1267-2025 to authorize the Director of Recreation Parks to enter into contract with Zero Waste Event Productions, LLC, to provide on-site recycling, sorting, compost collections, and material processing coordination during the 2025 Jazz and Rib Festival, Sebus Soul Fest, and Winterfest Columbus, to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $53,454.99 from the Recreation Park Special Purpose Fund 2223, and to waive competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code. The department has received a grant from the Ohio EPA to assist with keeping our city events environmentally conscious, and so the department will be using these grant funds to contract with Zero Waste Event Productions. This company helps sort recyclable materials and encourage compost collections during large events, ensuring that attendees are recycling their materials whenever possible. They will be on site during 3 main city events to encourage people to recycle and demonstrate recycling sorting techniques. A bid waiver is requested because this company is uniquely able to provide post-event reports quantifying the amount of waste diverted from landfills at each event, which is a requirement of the grant from the EPA. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Yes, Councilmember White.
Thank you, Chair. One, I just want to shout out the department for doing this. Obviously, with limited useful life in our landfill, these diversion efforts are becoming more and more important. So kudos to the department, who has been doing this for a number of years, for establishing this zero waste event. It's my hope that all city-sanctioned events become zero waste events. But this is a good step in the right direction, and a lot of leadership from the department on this one. So thank you.
Seeing no other comments, I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Bangston, Barossa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Next, I move to amend to emergency.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barossa de Padilla, Beatty, de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Amend it.
Finally, I move for passage as amended.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1275-2025 to authorize the Director of the Recreation Parks Department to modify an existing contract with Pavement Protectors DBA M&D Blacktop for the Hard Surface Program 2024 Phase 2 project to authorize a transfer of $834,402.25 between the General Fund Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and the Recreation Parks Bond Fund to authorize the appropriation of $834,402.25 in the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund to authorize the expenditure of $884,402.25 from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund and Public Utilities Electricity Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Hard Surfaces Program is an annual program to improve concrete and asphalt surfaces. This project modification addresses additional improvements needed at 4 parking lots and connecting drives at the Anheuser-Busch Sports Park Complex. These improvements are needed ahead of the park hosting the North American Gay Amateur Athletic Association's Gay Softball World Series in 2026. Additionally, included in this ordinance is $50,000 for a very exciting project in Blackburn Park. Recreation Parks will be partnering with Sustainable Columbus to pilot a project installing solar reflective color coding at the splash pad, pavilion, and walkways in the park. I would like to turn the floor over to Deputy Director John Lee from Water and Power to talk more about this exciting project, the collaboration with Recreation Parks, and what this project could mean for the future in Columbus. Deputy Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you. President Harden, Councilmember Day Akauer, and members of council, thank you for allowing Columbus Water and Power to comment on Ordinance 1275. Days like today with soaring temperatures are one of Columbus's biggest climate change impacts. Adapting to changes in extreme weather is a focal point of City Council and the Mayor's Climate Action Plan. Our $50,000 contribution to this project will go toward installing cool surfaces at Blackburn Park. This will be a coating applied around walkways, a splash pad, and a pavilion aimed at reducing surface temperatures and making it more comfortable and enjoyable on hot days. Studies have shown that asphalt surface temperatures can decrease up to 20% with this coating. Once the reflective coat is applied, we will monitor temperature changes and their impact and its potential application in future projects. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for our Deputy Director?
Chair, not a question, but can I just commend the collaboration between Sustainable Columbus and Rec and Parks on this? We already know Columbus is one of the fastest growing heat islands, so anything that we can do to kind of reduce that heat is important. So it's exciting to see this collaboration. I believe sustainability is all things, so I'll be coming for all departments. But no, this is really great. I want to acknowledge the work of my aide who serves on the Smart Surfaces Coalition, who is excited to kind of see this pilot come through fruition. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to learning about the results from this project. It's always nice to do something different and innovative and see how it can help us combat our climate, changing climate and protect our residents during this extreme weather. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Then I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And our final ordinance this evening is Ordinance 1276-2025 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks Department to modify an existing contract with CK Construction Group Incorporated for the Kilburn Run Sports Parks Improvement Project to authorize a transfer of $1,004,500 between the General Fund Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and the Recreation and Parks Bond Fund to authorize the appropriation of $1,004,500 in the Income Tax Set-Aside Subfund and Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund to authorize the collective transfer of $4 million within the Morse Road TIF Fund and Northland TIF Fund to authorize the collective appropriation of $4 million within the Morse Road TIF Fund and Northland TIF Fund to authorize the expenditure of $5,004,500 from the Recreation Parks Voted Bond Fund, Morse Road TIF Fund, and Northland TIF Fund, and to declare an emergency. Kilburn Run Sports Park, located at 4625 Westerville Road, is a soccer-specific facility that stretches over 62 acres, with 35 of those acres dedicated to athletic space. This contract modification will cover costs for Phase 2 construction at the complex, which includes a traffic roundabout, park frontage, and signage. This is the last phase of the Kilburn project, and I'm excited to watch these last pieces be put into place. Specifically, the roundabout will improve the roadway and the right-of-way, creating safer access into the park for motorists and pedestrians. Now, I know some community members are not really big fan of roundabouts. They don't understand why we choose roundabouts instead of traditional intersections with traffic lights. And so I'd like to invite our Director Stoko from the Department of Public Service to explain why it is that we love roundabouts.
Well, good evening again, President Harden, Chair, and other members of council. We do love our roundabouts. We love them because they are a safer option versus an intersection. And so at the city's new Kilburn Run Sports Park, we are providing critical safety benefits, specifically slowing down vehicles on Westerville Road, where we've tragically had more than one, crash that's occurred. Per our Vision Zero Columbus Action Plan, the Department of Public Service has adopted a roundabout policy that prioritizes safety to save lives and reduce serious crashes. For safety infrastructure projects that involve intersection improvements, we consider the use of roundabouts first in our planning and design practices. And the reason we do that is because the Federal Highway Administration data indicates that roundabouts have shown to be proven to produce significant safety benefits, including more than 90% reduction in fatal crashes, a 76% reduction in injuries, and a 35% reduction overall in crashes. So the reason why that is that in a typical intersection, you have 32 points of contact with other vehicles, and in a roundabout, you only have 8. Mm-hmm. So while I know that this is a newer way of traveling around Columbus, it is proven to be a safer. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director. Any of my colleagues?
Yeah, I just wanted to just say, I also wanted to just thread the needle on this because I think that we had an opportunity. This is on the High Injury Network. Director, you alluded to, we had fatalities right at this intersection. And I think that when we have these opportunities that we're making additional improvements to the park, which we know will bring more folks to the park, making it safer for everyone in that general area, this provided us an opportunity to do multiple things at once. And so I just wanted to, as we were talking with our vice chair around safety, this is just furthering our commitment around Vision Zero. This was an area that was problematic that folks asked us to do something about it, and this gave us the opportunity to do that with the additional improvements that we were making within the park and then that entrance into the park as well. And so I just wanted to highlight that for folks because this is a roundabout is one strategy of many strategies that folks will begin to see in different parts of the city as we begin to reconstruct our environment to provide for human error and to ensure that folks are safe no matter what how you're moving around the city, whether it's walking or on a bike or in a car, et cetera.
Yep. The key is to slow down the traffic, particularly on arterial roadways like a Westerville Road or some of the more multi-lane roadways. So this is a way to do that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you, Council President. That's all from my committee this evening.
Next committee to come before council is the Workforce, Education, and Labor Committee, chaired by Pres Pro Tem. Pres Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. As I introduce ordinance number 1770-2025, I want to invite Dorsey Hager and Ted Murdaugh up to the podium as well. This ordinance is to authorize the Director of Development to enter a not-for-profit service contract with CBCT Building Futures in an amount not to exceed $200,000 to create a pre-apprentice training program to authorize the advancement of funds on a predetermined schedule during the term of the agreement, to authorize an appropriation expenditure within the Job Growth Subfund, and declare an emergency. This legislation will be the first of its kind collaboration in this country between the faith community and organized labor. This collaboration between First Church of God's, City of Refugee Good Life Foundation, and the Columbus Building Trades Building Futures Program will create a 12-week pre-apprenticeship program that will provide a direct pathway for participants into a union construction apprenticeship program that will allow program participants to gain starting wages and healthcare benefits and retirement benefits as they enter into those programs. The City of Refuge Good Life Foundation will do the recruitment for the program, perform soft skills and wraparound support for each participant, and the Building Futures program will provide the skills, training, and apprentice placement work that makes this work so impactful for those that are going through it. We were able to include money for this unique collaboration in this past year's operating budget, and it's really, I think, a key aspect of this council's commitment towards providing innovative ways to create economic stability for our residents to make sure that they have access to a growing industry here in Columbus. It's hard to drive across the city without seeing cranes or construction, and knowing that the folks that are doing that work have the ability to make careers out of that, I think, is an incredibly important thing that for us as a council to invest in. Again, we have Ted Murdoch from the First Church of God here with us, and Dorsey Hager from the Building Trades, who have worked over the last several months together on trying to bring both the organizations together on this very, very unique collaboration between the two. So with that, we'd love to pause and hand the floor over to the gentleman here.
It's nice to appear here in front of council yet again. Want to thank you guys for this incredible commitment to not only the First Church of God, Columbus Building Trades. Like Councilmember Dorn said, you can't drive anywhere around the city without seeing holes, without seeing cranes, without seeing construction everywhere, not only in the city of Columbus, but in Franklin County and the incredible Central Ohio region as well. Not only the work that the city of Columbus is doing on water treatment facilities, wastewater treatment plants, continued infrastructure growth to make sure that we're prepared for the influx of people that are going to be moving here in the next 10, 20 years, but also the data center work, the tech center work that's going on, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Amazons, everything that's going on is just creating incredible opportunities for our citizens of Columbus and our residents here in Columbus and Central Ohio. And as always, the Columbus Building Trades is looking for community partners to reach out to make sure that we can provide opportunities to get onto this direct path of the middle class for many of our citizens. So just wanted to thank you for that. And before I turn it over to Ted, I wanted to thank Eli Wenzel, who works for the Columbus Building Trades. He's been with us for 2 years now. He's incredibly passionate about everything that we're doing, not only where it comes to pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship, but recruitment and outreach. And he spent a lot of time on this, worked really hard on this, was able to work with Ted to make sure that we got this done, and just so happy for all his efforts on this.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, President Hardin, and my good friend, Mr. Dorns. We've been working on this project for quite a number of years. First Church of God, on behalf of Bishop Clark, we bring you greetings. 5 years ago, we started along this journey with City of Refuge Good Life Foundation, whose sole purpose was to improve the lives of those people who make up our community. And as Bishop and I sat in the office, I was a CFO of the church at the time. It's kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? And we saw this economic tsunami coming through Columbus, and it had to do with skilled trades. So we decided to start a program to do training in the construction trades industry. Councilmember Dorn supported us in that effort way back when. He came out and he was a keynote speaker at one of our graduating classes. And now, with the help of the Columbus Building Futures Trade and City Council, we're able to take it to the next level. You know, our agenda is just one, to change the lives of individuals in our community, stabilize households economically so they can have access to health care, jobs, send their kids to the schools of their choice, and take pride in just being a resident of this city. So we thank you for this opportunity. We'll continue the work. We look forward to it, and we'll do our part in making this change in people's lives. Thank you very much.
Well, again, want to say thank you to both of you. I know, Ted, we had the opportunity to work together on your past efforts, and I think, this is a unique collaboration between, again, the foundation from First Church and certainly organized labor with the building trades, and one that I hope bears fruit not only for the two organizations, but for the individuals that go through the program. Knowing that we'll have individuals that will then have the ability to go directly into union apprenticeship programs upon graduation to take advantage of those opportunities is something that, to your point, not only stabilizes families, but helps to put them on the pathway for the economic security long term. In a time in which we need more folks taking advantage of these kind of career opportunities. So thank you both for your efforts in bringing this here today. And again, I also want to thank Eli Wetzel as well for his hard work in trying to bring these two programs together to get us here tonight. Any questions or comments from my council members? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Good work. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you both. Council President, I'll have my committees at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Health and Human Service and Equity Committee, chaired by Councilmember Green. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
So much, Council President. Tonight in our Health, Human Services, and Equity Committee, we have one ordinance on second reading. And as I read this ordinance, I'd like to invite Kayla Davis to the podium to speak. Oh, there she is. It is ordinance 1768-2025 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with a step in the right direction in support of its hygiene program, to authorize an appropriation of $33,980 within the neighborhood initiative subfund, to authorize an expenditure of $51,480 within the neighborhood initiative subfund, and to declare an emergency. The hygiene program at a step in the right direction is designed to support low-income individuals and households by providing essential hygiene cleaning products that promote health, dignity, and well-being. In 2025, the program aims to serve 8,000 households and individuals, ensuring that they have access to necessary items, not just like soap, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, but also cleaning supplies and personal care items and things like laundry detergent and dish soap and things that are so important in order to live your normal lives that also are getting more and more expensive and have always been expensive. This year, A Step in the Right Direction looks to expand the hygiene program to serve individuals in all zip codes in Central Columbus, and they have been working on the west side since 2019, which is when we first encountered, actually before then we encountered one another. I also want to thank my colleagues who also contributed to this ordinance, Councilmember Nancy Day Akauer, Councilmember Green Bean, Councilmember White. This work is so important, and I remember being a young kid, and we didn't have laundry detergent at home, and we were lucky enough to live next door to some friends that we'd borrow it when times got tough. And I just think about that all the time, about what it's like to be a kid in middle school going to school and want to have clean clothes, or things that we all need every single day that we don't really think about, that are so are a real financial burden for people that are living on the margins. And so at this point in time, I'd love to turn it over to Kayla Davis, the Executive Director and founder of the Step in the Right Direction, to talk a little bit more about the work you do and the impact it's having.
Yeah, so I think this was probably my second or third time being at council, but good evening, President Harden and other council members. My name is Kayla Davis, and I'm the Executive Director of A Step in the Right Direction. I want to first thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to speak, and most importantly, just continuing the support that you guys have been giving to us since last year into this year. Our mission is very simple, but essential. It's to increase the basic resource and promote self-sufficiency, especially in most vulnerable communities like the west side of Columbus. With your support, our hygiene program has grown to become a lifeline for many, but not only just providing hygiene items, but dignity, health, and opportunity to improve confidence within our community. Hygiene is often overlooked when we talk about basic needs, but it's a foundation. It affects a person's ability to show up for school, for work, or even just be treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve. Right now, we are seeing a sharp increase in just a few months, especially with low-income families and seniors over 65. And the cost of living continues to rise. When forced to choose between food, medication, and hygiene, often all the hygiene falls last when it comes to any decision-making at this time. That's where we decide to step in. Thanks for your support for being able to meet people where they are through mobile outreach, supply drives, and resource navigation. And we're not just giving out products, right? We are giving people a sense of hope, a path forward, and a reminder of who they are. The impact is real. When someone has what they need to care for themselves, they are in a better position to pursue stability, whether that's finding work, maintaining housing, or improving their health in general. So on behalf of our team, our volunteers, and every neighbor we serve, we thank you. Thank you for believing in the community-based solutions. Thank you for helping us restore dignity in our community, and thank you for walking with us step by step to make a more equitable and stronger Columbus.
Thank you so much, Kayla. And I think the thing that, you and I had talked about this in the past, but I think the thing that, oftentimes is getting overlooked, and a sort of misconception that we have to work to undo is that, we've got a lot of people, like 1/3 of people in our shelter system are working full-time, right? Like there's a lot of people right now as stuff is getting more expensive out there, and rent is increasing, and the cost of healthcare is increasing, and especially thinking about, the potential for disruptions to Medicaid expansion in Ohio, and what does that mean to families that have someone that's on Medicaid expansion that's living with a substance use disorder and needs to get treatment, or has a chronic health condition and needs to access medication, and what kind of decisions are they going to have to make? And so, I think we are going to continue to make decisions that are in alignment with supporting our neighbors wherever they're at, and meeting them where they are. And we want to thank you for doing the work that you do and for filling this critical gap. Do I have my colleagues have? Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you do. I have been to several of your events, and you're not just standing there handing people things. You are, there is that dignity there. It's relational. When I've been there, I've seen how you and your teammates, relate with the people. It's very relational, and that is so important because it does give that sense of dignity. For the people, they don't need to feel ashamed to be there and to collect. And I know that you're out there in the community engaging with people. So thank you so much for not only what you do, but the way you do it, because it matters.
Thank you, and I'm happy to share we also confirmed a long-term partnership with SWAV. So we're hoping by the fourth quarter of this year, we will be expanding to all zip codes with this and that SWAV partnership moving forward. So I'm excited to show you guys what's to come for the community. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, with that, I move for passage.
Banks, Timber, Rosa de Padilla, Beatty, De Akauer, Dorns, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Council President. That's all for me tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight I have two pieces of legislation in the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. My first piece of legislation builds on years of thoughtful discussion between this council and the Columbus Division of Police regarding their helicopter fleet. In 2020, under previous police leadership, council held a robust and important conversation about whether to limit the number of helicopters in our fleet. At that time, the decision was made not to impose that cap, but to continue evaluating how best to manage this critical public asset. In 2022, under the leadership of Chief Elaine Bryant and Deputy Chief Sagal, who oversees the air unit, we revisited the topic with renewed purpose. They presented a clear vision for responsible fleet management, including a reduction in patrol flight hours, a commitment to avoid flying directly over residential neighborhoods, and a forward-looking plan to modernize the fleet. As part of the plan, we disposed of a helicopter that had been purchased under previous leadership but was never put into service. Importantly, we sold that aircraft at a profit to the city, an outcome that reflects our collective commitment to fiscal responsibility. Chief Bryant's administration also committed to maintaining a cap of 5 helicopters, knowing that at least one would always be undergoing maintenance, leaving 4 operational aircraft available to perform their patrol duties. However, due to the aging condition of the current fleet, comprised of helicopters purchased in 2006, 2008, 2009, and 2012, we frequently have only had 3 operable units available at any given time. This aging fleet, with more than 39,000 combined flight hours, faces increasing mechanical issues, costly maintenance, and challenges sourcing replacement parts. Delaying action only increases these costs and reduces reliability. Tonight's legislation proposes the purchase of 2 new Bell 505 helicopters, aircraft that offer the latest in aviation technology, enhanced safety, greater operational efficiency, and the ability to fly higher and quieter over neighborhoods. These upgrades aren't about expanding surveillance, they're about ensuring safer, more reliable, and less disruptive operations for both officers and the residents we serve. By flying higher and quieter, we honor the community's concerns while still ensuring our officers have the tools they need to respond quickly in life-saving situations. Whether that's a missing child, a suspect fleeing a violent crime, or flying over a fire to assess the current situation for the firefighters on the ground. Tonight's investment reflects years of oversight, reform, and collaboration. We are not expanding the program, we are responsibly upgrading it to meet today's standards. This is how we move public safety forward with balance, transparency, and accountability. So as I read the actual legislation, I'd like to invite First Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts and Deputy Chief Robert Sagal to the podium. As I read ordinance number 1252, 2025, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into an agreement with Bell Textron, Inc. for the purchase of 2 Bell 505 basic aircraft for the Division of Police, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize an amendment to the 2024 capital improvement budget, to authorize an amendment to authorize the appropriation of $5,940,233 from the general fund income set aside subfund, to authorize the transfer of $5,940,233 between funds, to authorize the expenditure of $5,940,233 from the Public Safety Taxable Debt Fund, and to declare an emergency. I would like to ask Deputy Director George Speaks to talk about the waiver of competitive bidding and provide further background on the purchase of the latest technology for the division. Director.
President Harden, Council, Chairman Remy, council members. Our aviation unit performed an extensive review and analysis as to which manufacturer and which helicopter of that manufacturer would be both the most cost efficient and the most mission effective for the City of Columbus. The Bell 505 helicopter stands out as the best. Moreover, we already have experience with Bell. These reasons, extensive review of all possible helicopters and prior experience, are why we asked to waive the formal bidding. Please allow me to elaborate on the cost efficiencies for a moment, and then I'll defer to First Assistant Chief and DC Sagal to speak about the effectiveness and the best fit for public safety in our city. So as background, I have negotiated for the last 20 years the various helicopter contracts. The purchase ordinance before you tonight is a very good deal for the city. By purchasing 2 helicopters, not only are we able to replenish our aging fleet quicker, but we have also gained synergy and we've gained contract negotiating bargaining power. Specifically, we are able to lock in 2024 pricing and a delivery date as of the end of this year. The 2024 price savings are equal to about 13.5%, or a little over $800,000 compared to current pricing. Moreover, we have a delivery date of later this year as opposed to late 2026 or thereafter. Lastly, we are able to negotiate complimentary pilot flight training. In summary, we are very pleased with the economics of the ordinance before you. With respect to mission effectiveness, I would defer to Assistant Chief Potts and DC Sagal. For those of you who may know, DC Sagal was a pilot of ours for many years, served not only as an officer but later as a sergeant in the aviation unit.
Thank you, Director. Good evening. On behalf of Chief Bryant and First Assistant Chief Potts, I would like to thank President Hardin, Chair Remy, and all of City Council for the opportunity to speak and for consideration of this purchase to enhance public safety in the City of Columbus. I'm proud of our ongoing discussions on this topic over the past several years to ensure we are doing the best we can for the citizens of Columbus. The helicopter unit has proudly served the citizens of Columbus since 1972. The dedicated personnel have the mission of quickly responding to high priority and violent calls for service. The unit responds to thousands of runs each year and are first on scene nearly 50% of the time with an average response time of 1.5 minutes. This is critical to immediately establish a police presence over these high priority runs and allows critical information gathering and communication to allow a safer and more efficient response for the citizens and officers. Our current fleet is comprised of 4 MD-530F helicopters, which were purchased between 2006 and 2012. The technology on board the aircraft is comparably aged. To put that in perspective, using 2009 as a midpoint and an average age of most of our technological equipment, this is comparable to trying to function efficiently in 2025 using an iPhone 3. And like the iPhone 3, our equipment is no longer supported or serviceable by the manufacturers. The purchase of these helicopters will allow us to leverage updated technology to fly higher and more neighborly with reduced noise pollution. We will be more efficient and consistent in reducing violence, allowing safer pursuits of violent felons through disengagement on the ground, recovering high-risk missing persons who are most vulnerable, and through assisting other outside entities such as Columbus Fire with non-traditional services such as assessments of dangerous situations from the sky. We have numerous examples of missing persons recovered, violent offenders taken off the streets, and dangerous firearms recovered from fleeing felons, such as on May 8th of this year, when officers on the far east side of Columbus were able to safely recover a 74-year-old male with dementia who walked away from his residence and was located over 2.5 miles from his home in a dangerous area where responding officers wouldn't have normally been looking. They would have been much closer to his actual house, but it allowed that expanded view. Lastly, these helicopters are key to reducing our operating and maintenance costs by spreading out maintenance over 5 aircraft, leading to major maintenance intervals being spread out over time. I appreciate your consideration of this request, and I'm available for any questions anybody may have.
And I just want to add, sorry, Chief. Sorry. I just want to add that we didn't make this decision in a vacuum. As you are aware, Chief Bryant, we feel strongly about the community, what their needs are and their concerns. And so this is why it's taken us this long and why we're at this point where we feel very comfortable with the purchase of these helicopters. We believe that, in fact, that this will serve the community in a capacity that the community deserves.
Thank you, First Assistant Chief and Deputy Chief. Now I'm going to open up the floor to questions from my colleagues. Councilmember Bangston.
No questions, Mr. Chair, but I do just want to make sure that we underscore that this is a capital expenditure. I think given the climate that we are all in from an operating standpoint, folks may point and say, how are you spending $6 million on this, but yet we have other unmet needs in our community. So just to put into perspective for the community, this is a capital purchase, so it's coming out of our capital budget, not our general fund. And so I think that's just a finer point that we are thinking about how do we make these investments in a wise way that balances us being able to continue to invest in our community but doesn't take away from that. So again, I want to thank you for your leadership on getting us here to that point and making sure that our officers do have the equipment that is necessary. Again, not necessarily around fighting crime, but also keeping our residents safe. I think about that that trailer that just turned over just the other day, and having those eyes in the sky is really critical. But just wanted to underscore that this is a capital investment and not coming out of our general fund.
Thank you, Finance Chair. Anybody else? Councilmember Brosday, PA.
I was just going to say thank you. I think we had a briefing, and I think what for me made sense is that I think when we have the tools to do better, we can operate better, right? And having the iPhone was a perfect example. I was thinking about like my home phone is what I was thinking about, the way that technology changes. And I think, I think about that family of that 74-year-old man. I think about kids, once my best friend's son wandered out of the house looking for her because he couldn't find her in the house, and he was wandering around the neighborhood. And if we would have had the technology back then that we have today, we would have found him even quicker. He was safe, thank God. But I think about that for me was a turning point. And I think when we have technology that is better, you talked about being neighborly, right? You talked about, I was a kid who grew up hearing helicopters in my neighborhood, and there is no doubt that you become this is part of your lived experience, and it is part of the lived experience for lots of people. And I think that that's why the community responds the way that they do when we make certain decisions. And I think the conversation that we're having today, being transparent about making a good, sound fiscal decision, where the funds are coming from, why the technology is important, the way that we use the technology, so that we're really also bringing the community along, I just think is imperative. And so I think that I thank you for being cautious and intentional about how we make those investments and where we're making the investments, so we show up in the best way for our community, so that we ensure their safety and that we ensure their security. And I just wanted to highlight that, because I think that especially now, we see this in other parts of the city, when we don't make investments at the right time, we see what can happen. And we've seen that in other parts of the city. And so thank you for being intentional about this, and thank you for pushing for it to be the right time for us to make this investment.
Thank you, Councilmember. President Pro Tem Dorans.
Thank you, Chair Remy. Appreciate you both being here tonight. Deputy Chief Sagel, so you and I have talked a lot about helicopters over the years, so it's good to see you again. I'm sort of looking around the dais and noticing that a number of individuals that were here when we had a compromise that was reached with Chair Remy, myself, and others. Some of the folks are not here anymore, and some new folks are here. And I know you touched on it in some of your comments, and Chair Remy did as well. But can you talk a little bit about sort of the different approach that the unit has taken based upon that agreement that was struck between council and the Division of Police going back to 22, how the helicopters operate now compared to what they maybe did 5 or 10 years ago, and sort of how that, I can tell you that seems like that has made an impact in the community. The amount of complaints that I've received from residents over the last several years have been minuscule compared to, I think, how the unit had operated previously. And I think that is a credit to that compromise in which I think the division was thoughtful in sort of those negotiations about how best this could serve the city. So I just wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind walking through sort of that different approach that you all have taken over the last several years.
No, absolutely. First of all, I'm very sincere in saying I've always appreciated these conversations. Sometimes they're tough, but they have to be tough sometimes, right? So some of the things that we talked about and proposed and followed through with were changes in our mission, our overall mission through flight hours being reduced. Because what we did is we looked at, we're a patrol ship, we're up a lot, and then we're waiting for some of these runs to come in. So we really focused in the hours that were most important to reducing that violent crime being available. It doesn't mean that the helicopter's not available during some of those hours now. They just fly from a standby, which just takes a few more minutes, but it makes them available, but lends to that flying more neighborly. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, with this enhanced technology, it's going to allow us to go speak with the FAA. We're always under deals with them about what altitudes we fly at versus med flights coming into the area, and we're going to try to fly higher to reduce that noise pollution even further. So we're going to stick with the reduced hours, which works within our mission. We also, in between dispatched runs, we made a commitment to not fly over neighborhoods. So we fly over major corridors, freeways, things like that, that not only is safer for our pilots and safer for everybody on the ground, but again, it contributes to that flying neighborly, reducing that noise pollution for our communities.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Chief. I think those changes over the years have made a real impact, just considering, you're talking about concentrating the mission on the hours that it's most needed, but also at the same time, not just being in the air for no reason during those other hours. And again, I think that's where we saw a lot of complaints from folks over the years. And I think it's been certainly a credit towards thinking this, being more thoughtful around how to have this tool and use it more appropriately. And you know, if we were in a different place where this was different than what we had talked about a number of years ago, you know, I would not be in support of this. But I think what's before us is certainly in line with what everyone struck a compromise between everyone, you know, a number of years ago. So thanks for being here, and thank you for continuing to uphold that agreement.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Vice President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you very much for everyone's cooperation this evening. Next, I have ordinance 1455-2025 to authorize and direct the city attorney on behalf of the Director of Department of Public Utilities to enter into a settlement agreement with Columbus Limestone, Inc. to resolve a disputed director's order that alleges violations of Chapter 1150 of the Columbus City Codes and to accept a deposit of $64,045.09 to be deposited into the sewer operating fund. The case involves a director's order sent from the Department of Public Utilities to Columbus Limestone, Shelley Materials, Inc., and the Shelley Company, known collectively as Columbus Limestone, alleging violations of our floodplain management code. Columbus Limestone then appealed the order. After consulting with state and federal regulatory agencies, the city has proposed conducting a regional floodplain study of the Scioto River, and the Department of Public Utilities has engaged consultants and other contractors for such purpose. The city has proposed a framework for settlement that includes Columbus Limestone's involvement in the study process and a pro rata payment of the cost of the study. So I'm going to ask the City Attorney, Solicitor General Rich Conglianese to provide some additional details on this proposed settlement.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Councilman Remy. As you have mentioned, this settlement comes out of a global way to address the issue as it relates to checking the river to make sure that we have properly cleaned up or are properly addressing issues there. Columbus Limestone has agreed to, as you say, pro rata pay its share of this study. And my understanding is that the folks from DPU also may have some comments, but if anybody has any questions for me, I am also happy to address those.
Thank you. Deputy Director.
Members of Council, no additional comments from DPU.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy Vice President Harden.
And that is all I have in public safety and criminal justice this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities and Sustainability, chaired by Councilmember White. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, I have ordinance 1433-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management enter into a not-for-profit service contracts with accompanying returning citizens with Hope, Arch, Goodwill Industries of Central Ohio Incorporated, and Impact Community Action to implement workforce training programs to appropriate $597,711.88 from the unappropriated balance of the Sustainable Columbus Fund to authorize the expenditure of $597,711.88 from the Sustainable Columbus Fund to authorize reimbursement of expenses incurred prior to the issuance of purchase orders and to declare an emergency. These programs support workforce and job opportunities for residents that focus on solar and green jobs, helping us achieve a long-term vision for diverse, equitable participation in the region's clean economy, bringing us closer to achieving multiple policy priorities of the administration and this council. Deputy Director Lee, do you want to add anything about the programs?
President Harden, members of council, on ordinance 1433, we're excited about this partnership with Arch and Goodwill and Impact in implementing workforce training programs that support solar and clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy, Vice President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And last, I have 1585-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a service contract with Sonegro Central LLC for the Hap Creamine Water Plant Residuals Removal and Disposal Lagoon 1 project, to authorize the expenditure of $4,372,128.84 from the Water Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. Water residuals are the byproducts of treating raw water to create drinking water under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System of the Clean Water Act. We are also responsible for properly disposing of these residuals so they do not end up back in the environment. Lagoon 1, the water residual storage facility, will soon need to be empty to ensure the city is in compliance with these regulations. This ordinance allows the city to reuse some residuals as liming material and dispose of the other materials at McKinley Avenue Quarry, extending the life of the Lagoon 1 facility and preventing the need to purchase land to store residuals. Let me pause there, see if there are any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy, Vice President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have in my committee this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee. I chair that committee, and we have one piece of legislation. It is Ordinance 1442-2025 to authorize the Director of the Department of Building and Zoning Services to enter into a contract with LTR Intermediate Holdings, Inc., DBA Liberty Tire Services of Ohio for services already rendered under the bid waiver provisions of Columbus City Code, Chapter 329, and to authorize an expenditure from the general fund. This contract will allow for the needed tire disposal and scraps removed from nuisance properties by code enforcement. This removal occurs when code enforcement determines it is the best option to abate the issue at the property. If there are no questions or comments on this piece of legislation, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy, Vice President Harden.
Was I supposed to amend to emergency?
Do you need, no.
All right. Seeing no further business to come before council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy, Vice President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We, Mr. Chair, do we need 5? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Chair, Councilmember Dorance chairs the committee. All members serve one. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, first a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read the numbers of legislation in this committee that require waiver of second reading?
Rezoning 1614-2025, variances 1615 and 1636-2025.
I move to waive second reading on those items read aloud.
So moved. Second. Who's the second? We need a second. She said. Okay. Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy, Vice President Harden.
Thank you. As always, before we get into tonight's agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking on council. On rezonings and variances, we only hear a staff presentation of the ordinance that is disapproval from a recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed to speak against an ordinance. We ask that speakers limit their remarks to 3 minutes per the rules of City Council. All speakers in the council variance, including the city staff, area commissioner, the applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representative of the area commissioner are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to file a speaker slip, but we do ask you alert the city staff of your intentions to speak at this committee hearing. We do not have any public speakers signed up to speak tonight. On the advice of the city attorney's office, we'll now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth that you shall answer and pains the penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Joe Rose from the Department of Building and Zoning Services has been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 1614-2025 to rezone 156 Deering, being 5.78 plus acres located in the northwest corner of Deering Avenue and South Fifth Avenue from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to CPD Commercial Plan Development District. Second consists of one parcel developed with a commercial structure and a vacant school building. Request modifies the previously approved site plan and text and allows commercial and industrial uses with supplemental development standards addressing the building and parking setbacks, required parking screening, street trees, and a new site plan. The changes are necessary because it is not feasible to reuse the former school building, and new buildings are proposed on the site. Proposal is approved from city staff, the Development Commission, and the Far South Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer. I'm sorry. We have to amend this as submitted to the clerk.
Pardon me. I first move to amend and submit to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Amended.
Thank you. Next move to pass for passage as amended.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next move in the council variances. First, we have ordinance 1615-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.38H, private garage, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3332.05A2 area district lot width requirements, 3332.14 R2F area district requirements, 3332.26 C2E minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.38G private garage. The Columbus City Codes for property located at 554 South Grand Avenue, allowed by habitable space within a detached garage, reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. Site consists of one parcel developed with a single dwelling. Council variance will allow habitable space within a new detached garage. It is required because the current district does not allow that type of use. Proposal is approved from city staff and the German Village Commission. I first move to accept the attached staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accepted.
Thank you. Next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. And finally move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 1636-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.029 SR Suburban Residential District, 3370.05 permitted uses, 3312.39 required parking in the Columbus City Codes for property located at 5824 Abraham Drive to allow a type A childcare home with reduced parking in the LSR Limited Suburban Residential District. Site consists of one parcel developed with a single unit dwelling. A council variance is necessary because a type A child care home is not allowed for use in this current district. Request also includes variance to reduce the required parking spots from 8 to 3 spaces. Proposal approved from city staff and the Greater Southeast Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accepted.
Thank you. Next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
And finally move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have for tonight's zoning agenda.
See no further business coming before council. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Beatty de Akauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned.